I need to also mention we've got an OMD fan Facebook group. I'm going to put a link down there in the description, and I want to give a big thank you to the people that help me run that. We get a lot of spam accounts, and I've got people in different countries. So I just want to give a big shout out to Antia, Manders, John, Dave, Gary, and Mark, who are the little admin team behind the scenes. That's sometimes
I'll say thank you all as well. Thank you to those guys. That's no, I mean, you know, there are. We have the official sites, but you know, your site is wonderful. It's its own little family, and it's got its own vibe. And I pop in quietly from time to time to see what you're all talking about. But I love it. I love it. Yeah. So I'm happy to do this for you. And I'm sorry that so many of the questions are old, because we promised we were going to do this like 2 years ago.
Hello, everybody. We're joined by Mr. Andrew, is it George McCluskey or Andy McCluskey from Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark? Are you still in the George period?
You know what it says? It says on my birth certificate, it says George Andrew. I actually quite like Andrew these days. I've decided to go back and get in touch with the inner child.
Okay. And can I send a massive congratulations? So we're recording this on the 12th of October, 2023. And 45 years today, you did your first gig at Eric's Club.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, 45 years ago on this day. And it was a Thursday.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I mean, you must still have very fond memories. I mean, I know people have touched on this in the past, but you must have very fond memories of those very, very early days.
Yeah, I mean, I look back now with fond memories. At the time, it was a lot of anxiety and nerves, and it felt like we were kind of banging our heads against a brick wall sometimes. But to be honest, Neil, yeah, I mean, it had to be part of the journey. You know, you have to start somewhere, and it's been an incredible journey to think back to, you know, I was 19, Paul was 18. We were just going to do one gig as a dare, and here we are with our 14th studio album, and 45 years later, it's nuts.
Absolutely. So what I'm also going to do, Andy, is I've got in my hat a number of OMD fans that will have been about for a very, very, very long time, who sent in some questions. So during this interview, I'll do it now. I'm going to randomly
pull them out.
It's a bit like, I don't know. Right, this is from Gavin Sheed. Now, this is interesting, because this is a fairly old question. Will Australia see an OMD tour? Previous tour announcements. Australia.
We thought we found the way to get there, the perfect way to get there. Simple Minds asked us 4 years ago to play with them. And we've been trying to get to Australia and New Zealand now ever since we reformed. And nobody will make us an offer that won't lose us tens and tens of thousands of pounds. It's just not going to make sense. So when Simple Minds came along and said, well, come and support us, we thought, oh, hallelujah, you know, the overheads come down. And then it got cancelled due to COVID. We got postponed due to COVID. And then it got postponed due to COVID. And then finally got cancelled. And now Jim and Charlie are going back, and they didn't ask us this time, bastards. So we would love to. We will try and find a way to do it. But, you know, I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea of what things cost. We recorded 9 days ago. We recorded Later with Jules Holland. We had to use several crew. We had to use a lot of transportation. We had to rehearse. We had to use to do one TV show where we recorded 2 songs. Cost us £15,000, which we had to get from the promoter of the tour, because we would advertise the tour. This is the kind of overhead you have to deal with. If we can get down to the Southern Hemisphere, to Australia and New Zealand, we will. But I'm so sorry that the Simple Minds thing didn't happen. It wasn't us, it was COVID.
Yeah, fully understandable. Andy, obviously everybody's aware of your musical influences from your younger days with Kraftwerk and Neu and things like this. I've been meaning to ask this question for years, and I always forget. Giorgio Moroder and Donna Summer's I Feel Love. Mm-hmm. I think Giorgio Moroder was actually up there with Kraftwerk at the time. did you have any feelings towards him?
I remember hearing I Feel Love on my radio in my bedroom, and I was absolutely blown away. And I was just like, wow, somebody's making a disco record like German electronic music. And I was, well, it is German electronic music. It's Giorgio Moroder. Moroder did some great stuff. Personally, I was more of a fan of Kraftwerk and Neu and La Dusseldorf. But, I mean, I Feel Love is one of the most iconic electronic songs ever recorded.
Absolutely. So, as people will be viewing this, the album will be released. So this should be coming out. This video should be coming out on the 28th. And you've had a bit of a journey with Bauhaus Staircase that originally was going to be called, I can never say this word, Anthroposcene.
That's
the word. Which is obviously
put your dentures in properly.
I've got a clip, Andy, of doing an interview with you back in 2014, and you said, if you can't say that, Neil, I'll call the album Bauhaus Staircase. So the title track Bauhaus Staircase, obviously that's been out in the public domain now for a few weeks, and isn't that just absolutely iconic? Orchestral manoeuvres in the dark, pure pop and catchiness. So tell me about the track Bauhaus Staircase.
I've wanted to write a song called Bauhaus Staircase for years, and there was a lot of things happened 3.5 years ago, and it was all down to the pandemic. I just ended up getting locked in this room because there was nowhere else to go, and thinking, right, well, now is the time I'm going to write Bauhaus Staircase because there's nothing else to do. And I started with a Roland 808 program in my computer, and I started to do. I was like, great, got the drums pumping now. I bought a whole new bunch of synthesizers for my Pro Tools, and because I was trying to copy Paul's system, we wanted to have twin systems because we couldn't travel, we couldn't be together. So we were going to have to match each other's systems, and of course, new toys, new ideas, and I found this sound that sits so well on the 808 drum machine, and it's the rolling bass line. And then I thought, well, now it needs some edge, so I just started these like cutting, like, and I was just like, this is ripping, this is kicking ass, I'm loving this, and off I went, started writing the lyrics, sent it to Paul, who loved it, and tried to write a melody, but I didn't think it was good enough to repeat. So I said, can we just make that the middle eight, and then I'll try and add some more afterwards. And that was kind of the first song that both of us worked on and went, that's working. That could be on an album. We could make an album. So that was it was a catalyst song, really, to make us start believing that maybe we could make one more album.
Excellent. And coming on to this track, Anthroposcene, that word that I can't say. I remember in 2014, you actually played me some demos of this and were telling me the story about the evolution of life and how you were trying to.
I played you Evolution of Species.
Was it really?
But the two songs obviously have similarities in terms of their theme. So yes, no, I mean, Evolution of Species, which is at the end of the album, so we'll talk about it later. But yeah, Anthroposcene. Anthropocene is a word that has become more and more utilized because people see it as, I mean, basically, Homo sapiens are now affecting the planet, both geologically and in terms of climate. And people talk now about, how long will we last? And of course, the pandemic made us think seriously about how long will we last. And if you study evolution, you realize that, no species lasts for more than a few million years. They might mutate into something else and become a different species. But Homo sapiens will not be here indefinitely. And maybe in another 50 million years' time, if there's another sentient being on the planet, they will look at the geology and go, oh, that's where the Homo sapiens were. That's the Anthropocene, except they won't know it's Anthropocene unless we write it down and put it in there for them to find. because they'll be able to say, look, there's the carbon and the lead and the nuclear and the plastic and the concrete, and it'll just be like in Anthropocene, I use the phrase just another KT line. The KT line is 66 million years ago, the Cretaceous Tertiary border where the dinosaurs got wiped out. And so in 50 million years time, people go, oh, yeah, that's what the Homo sapiens stopped there. That's the Anthropocene line. So it's just looking at us as part of the fauna of a planet, not a special species, just one more animal on the planet. And we owe it to ourselves to look after the planet, because if we don't, people always say, oh, it's going to be the end of the world. No, it isn't. It'll be the end of us. The world will probably go, thank fuck they've gone. Now we can heal and start again.
And so obviously I've only had a very quick couple of listens to this, and I've got a hint of Visage listening to that. I don't know whether there's that's just obviously me listening to that. Is there any notion on that at all?
People love to make references to other artists. Why do they need to do that? I've been noticing quite a lot of people have been saying about Verushka, oh, it sounds like the Pet Shop Boys. Which bloody Pet Shop Boys song does it sound like? It sounds nothing like the Pet Shop Boys. So, I honestly, if you think it sounds like Visage, then you happily tell yourself it sounds like Visage. Visage did some good songs, so as long as it's one of their best songs, then we'll take that, yeah.
Well, I've just literally written down a couple of words on each of these tracks that I've gone down. I've just written down it's a beautiful ditty synthesizer OMD track, and I know the fans out there are absolutely going to love that.
It's the isotype of this album,
isn't it? Just absolutely right. I'm pulling out another question. Sorry, that's just random from Catherine Hooper. Oh, this is going back a couple of years now. How did you find touring with MiG-15? What were the things for you that you found better maybe than you expected? So obviously that was back in the days when your son was in his band.
Yeah. It was interesting watching them grow into performing and getting confidence on these huge stages that they were unused to. The audience, perhaps understandably, were very generous to them because obviously James was my son. I did used to be quite amused when people would post about Andy's son, the singer. I was like, no, that's Adam. James, the bass player, is my son. But no, it was. I mean, I only let them come on the road because I thought they were very good. I don't want a crappy support band, even if it is my son's band. I thought they were extremely good, and I think that unfortunately, COVID destroyed a lot of young bands, and unfortunately, MiG-15 were one of them.
Okay, right. I'm just going to pull out another question here from David Koenig. Again, this is like traveling in time here. Following the success of the the Royal Albert Hall atmospheric live shows, are there any plans to do more theme-based or rarer material related gigs in the future? And that possibly is defunct at the moment.
Well, obviously, it's been superseded by a brand new album, and we will be touring with that album on and off until pretty much the end of 2024. We've got Europe and the UK. We're going to South Africa in April, which we haven't played for a long time. And then because we've done festivals every summer for the last few years, we're taking the summer off. I think also Paul wants to spend some time with his daughter, because at that age, kids grow up and you're not home for a couple of months and like, who are you? And what have you missed? It's so I think we will go to North America and South America and hopefully Australia and New Zealand at the end of next year, and then we will see. I honestly don't think I'm going to sit for many more days in this room and try and mine my soul for ideas for songs. I want to go and smell the roses a bit more, I'm very happy with what we've done. I've said a million times this album wouldn't exist if it wasn't for COVID, because there was nothing else to do but me sit in this room and make a record and keep kicking and smacking Paul and saying, give me something, give me something, give me something to work with. And he's like bad Santa, you know, he seldom gives you a whole song. He'll go, well, I've got a couple of chords. Can you make a toy out of that? And I've got some wheels here that fell off a fire engine. Can you make a song out of that? You know, it's like, so, yeah, whatever he gave me, I worked on. And, you know, he gave me the chords to Healing and he gave me the chords to Verushka. And he actually gave me pretty complete backing tracks for Look At You Now and Anthroposcene. But, you know, Paul has a life outside of OMD. And I haven't, and I intend to have one. So we will see. But I don't think I'll stop doing music. I mean, one of the I'm getting way ahead of myself. One of the things I've been thinking of doing is the hardest thing is writing the words and the lyrical melody, the top line. I find that so hard these days. So I might actually do an instrumental album. And I don't know whether it'll be OMD or not. It just depends what Paul wants to do in the future. I don't know. I honestly don't know. If we stop, I think this is a good album to stop with, and I do believe you should try and go out on a high. You know, I don't want to be like an old boxer with fans and journalists beating me, going, "You should retire. You should have retired. You should have retired. You know, you're shit now." So we'll see.
So that brings back onto the album and the track "Look At You Now." So that's the album's what I would call, that's the ballad on the album, the slow, the ballad track, what OMD are so renowned for. So tell me about it.
Paul sent me that initial piece of music, and people will be able to hear all the demos because we're doing a demo CD again, and it's always interesting to see where songs came from. On the demo CD is what Paul sent to me. And he sent it to me, I think, 2 days after he told me that he was expecting a baby, and the baby literally arrived 3 weeks later. So this was from early 21. And I initially said, because the melody was played on piano, I initially said, oh my God, it sounds like Vangelis, it sounds like Chariots of Fire. So it was actually called Chariots for a while. And then I decided not to go with the piano melody, and I changed the MIDI of the melody into the big synths, the big ringing OMD synths. And I was intending to create a verse, and for some stupid reason, I started singing on top of the melody. I started singing the melody. Look at you now, you're shining now. And I went, oh, that shouldn't work, but it kind of does. I thought, this could be Paul's problem. He could fix the clash between my voice and the melodies because they're all around about 1-2K. He can try and make the space for them. And it just, I think because people have been going through such hard times in COVID, the verse just kind of wrote itself. It's kind of like it's almost like a self-help verse. You know, it's like, get up again and stand, and, you know, the power in your hand. And it's just, it's kind of like it's a Paul song with Andy singing it.
That's a really good, analysis of that one. And then the next track on the album is GEM, and I've just written down here. This is a proper synth track. This is a real proper synth. So GEM is an abbreviation, obviously. What's it an abbreviation for?
I can't tell you. There are 3 songs on this album that were basically love songs to people that I really care about. And I actually wrote these songs as presents. And I'll tell you what they are. It's GEM. It's the next one, Where We Started. And it's Aphrodite's Favorite Child, which is towards the end of the album. I wrote these for people that I love and care about. And I gave them to them as presents. And then thinking that there would never be another OMD album. And then when it became obvious there was going to be another OMD album, I had to beg them and say, you know, that song I wrote for you was a gift just for you. Can I have it back and give it to the rest of the world? So yeah, GEM. It's a song written for somebody, and I can't tell you who it is. And that's all I'll say. But no, I'll say more. It all started with, I know, again, new toys and new synths, and I was running through the sequences in a new synth, and I just literally, I mean, people used to say, "Oh, the synth writes the song for you," and I go, "No, it bloody doesn't." Well, it kind of did on this one because I just pressed one key, and this synth went. I went, I'm having that. That's a whole rhythm section in itself. So yeah, once I got that, I was flying, and the melody was the way we used to do melodies, like New Stone Age, where I just play a synth and go, like, and then I do another track, and it's 4 different synths all playing different noises to sort of create a random melody, and I just had fun with it. I broke it down. I put the more folders in. We crunched it through. But yeah, it was that one. That was an Andy track. It's all by me, and I was just having a blast, just crunching my new synthesizer toys.
So a bit of a random question. So this is from Antia, who's one of my admin team on our Facebook group we've got running. Are there any songs you've always wanted to perform live, but you've not been able to because of the technical requirements or things not fitting in, and maybe not popular? I know your high voice on International and Telegraph we managed to get back, but is there anything on an album that you would have loved to have done live, but you've not been able to do live?
I would have quite liked to have done Helen of Troy. And I mean, obviously, when we played the Royal Albert Hall and we did all of Dazzle Ships, we played some tracks that we'd never played live before. I don't. Apart from maybe Helen of Troy, I don't think there's anything that we that there's left over that's like burning a hole in my head. Going, I really want to do it. I really want to do it.
Okay, right. I'm going to pull another random one out of my cap. This is from Paul Anderton. This is a bit of a silly one, this one. When will further 80s albums be reissued? So you're on the, reissues and anniversaries, and I think there's only so many reissues can be done.
I think they're going to do a special edition Junk Culture for Record Store Day next year. Then we look at Crush and Pacific Age. I don't know. I mean, I know that Universal still wants to do things with the back catalogue. I think the problem we have is that last time when we did the Souvenir album, the 40th anniversary album, Paul went into the tape store, the old EMI tape store, and he dug out every piece of tape that had anything on it that said demo or the name of a song that he didn't recognize. And we did this unreleased album with the Souvenir album, and there was some amazing stuff on there, but I don't think there's any more stuff that hasn't been released. And I'm honestly not sure about just, remastering albums for the sake of remastering them if you don't give people something brand new. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, right now, it's not, obviously, for understandable reasons, not high on my list of priorities.
No, absolutely. So coming back to the album and album tracks, where the track where we started, which obviously you've just alluded, was written a little bit about it. I've just written a note. I think I may have got this from some of your side notes, which is an empathy and solace in 34 words. Yeah, tell us a little bit about where we started.
I wrote that for somebody I love, really, really love and care about deeply, and it was lyrically, it was reflecting a time that perhaps wasn't great, and I was basically saying, imagine we could go back to where we started. And I will hold you and promise you that things will be different and better. Will that comfort you? And I still, for me, it's very, very personal, that song. And again, I had to plead with the person to be able to use it on the album, and I promised I'd never say who it was written for. So again, I'm sorry if I'm frustrating you, Neil. I can't tell you, but it's confidential. But I think that you can tell from the feel of it, the sound of it, the melody, the way I'm singing the words, that I really care about this person. And it's a musical hug. It is. It's comfort and solace in 34 words. It sounds very, you know, it's a kind of old school OMD. You know, it's got those big fat analog bass synths, and it's very much an Andy melody. So yeah, that song's written by me for somebody that I love.
Okay, and then coming on to the next track, Verushka, if I've said that correctly. This has had an incredible mixed reaction from the fans that I've seen, and it really
not as mixed as Slow Train.
Slow Train. We have, yeah, that's coming up next. But this one, I think, has again struck chords for the sheer beauty of the writing and the everything about it. Somebody actually on the OMD Facebook group we run said, "Don't watch the video, listen to the song." And obviously, because this has all been released on YouTube with images, people are very busy watching that without listening to the actual song. And what a beautiful song it is.
Thank you. I think it started about 5 or 6 years ago. Paul actually gave me a chord sequence, and it was just 4 chords. It was haunting. I didn't know what to do with it. I just sat there with it, and then I chopped it up and put them into a different order, and then I felt like, oh, I might be able to sing on that. I might be able to do something with that. So I started playing with it, put a little sequence on it, put the big harp thing, and I got the chorus. I got the chorus about 4 or 5 years ago, and Paul loved it. I played it to Paul. It's, oh, that's great. You know, I can't wait to hear you finish it. And he had to wait about 3 years. And finally, when he gave it to me, it had a working title. It was just called Verushka. And I don't know where it came from. But it was called Verushka. And it's much easier to have working titles which are a title and not just, you know, Opus 351. You're like, what the hell is that? You don't remember what the numbers mean. I finally did what any right-minded person does. I Googled the word Verushka. And I came up with a German supermodel from the 70s who was 6'3" tall and was in a film noir, one of the kind of last film noirs. And that just opened the floodgates. I went, oh, film noir. There you go. I can paint lyrical pictures of shadowy characters and strangers falling through the night and headlights on a, you know, rain-soaked road. And when we did Bauhaus Staircase and Cine 1080 created the Bauhaus Staircase video, which, by the way, I've got to talk about that. We put that out there onto a platform for video makers and just hoped, because I couldn't find anybody to make a video. We got 56 replies with mood boards and scripts and things, which are really hard to, you know, you think, all right, well, I know what I'm imagining, but what are they actually going to do? Andy Whitehurst and the guys at Cine 1080 spent the whole weekend doing the first 35 seconds of Bauhaus Staircase. And so on Monday morning, Ed McDonald at 100% sent me this. And I just went, I don't have to imagine this. I can see the video. It's bloody amazing. So they got the gig. And then it turned out that through COVID, they'd been locked down and they'd been playing around doing things, but hadn't had a release for them. So they opened their cupboard to me, and I was like a kid in a candy shop. They showed me a character that's going to become the Anthroposcene character. They showed me the characters that were going to become the Slow Train characters. And they showed me a character who I went, oh my God, that would work for Verushka. And they hadn't heard Verushka. So Andy W. listened to Verushka. Goes, no. So Andy, we're not using that character. I'm going to make you your own Verushka. And he sent me a show reel of this girl with several different haircuts and hats and glasses. And I went for the kind of social justice warrior shaved head look, because we both agreed that it would look 1950s, but she would look contemporary. And I know what people say about the video. I don't want to give too much away because people need to. Also, by the way, there's what Andy W calls Easter eggs. Look on Bauhaus Staircase. There's 2 OMDs in there. There's 2 references to OMD, the letters. Look on Slow Train. There's an OMD in there that nobody seems to have got yet. And in Verushka, there's an OMD, and nobody seems to have seen it yet. They just play these little games of like putting these little Easter eggs in there for people to hunt out. Nobody's found the Slow Train one, and nobody has found the Verushka one yet. So, but somebody complained about her looking like a robot and AI, and I got somebody to post on the Facebook page, and all it said was 3 words: Voigt Kampf Test. And I'll leave it at that.
So and I'm going back here, but that video for Bauhaus Staircase, that has been scrutinized by OMD fans. They have been pausing it every single second. And have you seen that? Have you seen? I mean,
have you seen the Easter eggs?
I believe possibly, but there's been so many comments about.
You're not going to commit yourself, are you? In case you're wrong.
All right.
Shall I give clues out?
Go on, fire away.
Look out for the 3 guys running, and look out for the art gallery door. Okay.
I will look forward to opening the door. Right, into the hat. Let's pick one. What have I got here? Amanda Charles. When touring,
hello, Amanda.
Which country has got the best audience for you? So I know you're very popular in
Germany. I'm not going to answer that. You know what? We can't even find consistency in the UK or anything. You do a tour and you come off that tour and go, wow, you know, I'm just thinking that Birmingham audience was unbelievable. And then you go to Birmingham 2 days ago, can't wait to play Birmingham because the audience were off the scale. And then you think, actually, on this tour, Glasgow were a bit more up than Birmingham. But you're not supposed to compare. You can't compare. You're not supposed to do it. You got to go out there every night like it's your last gig. You're going to give it 100%, pour the energy out, and I hope it comes back. And you get into this fabulous cycle of energy and love, and it's beautiful. There's nowhere that's better than anywhere else. They're all different in the same way that every venue is different. Every city is different. You know, it could be a standing venue on a Saturday night, or it could be a seated venue on a Tuesday in a different kind of, the weather's different. Everywhere is different, and you cannot compare them. You really have to stop yourself doing it. So I can't answer that question because seriously, we try not to compare.
Okay, let's grab another one. Oh, sorry,
every time you lift that up, I keep thinking it's one of the women's OMD Women's Guild's bras.
Oh, it's actually my work cap. I sit on.
Okay. It's very clean for a work cap.
with it on. Right, this is from Carl Fuller. What was the reason behind doing the video for Secret on the beach at Walton on the Naze, my hometown? Yeah, what was the reason for filming Secret there, if you can remember?
You know, those were the days when we were really under the control and the influence of the record company and the video director. We had very little control over the videos. It's only since the band kind of, well, in the 90s, I got a bit more control, and then since we reformed, it was you know, it was another one of those ones where it's like, Paul and Andy, and how are we going to do this? Well, one's going to get the girl and the other isn't. It's going to be some sort of, you know, busted love triangle thing. And it's just, and it looks great. It looks nice. But, that was, That was the one, wasn't it, where they cast the younger versions of us, which was quite interesting. They did quite well, I think, with those people. But yeah, we have to. I have to admit, we had absolutely no control over it.
Okay, right. So back to the album, Slow Train. This has had the most mixed reaction with the fans. Where
I knew it would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether this is like a liberator moment where it's like, this isn't OMD, this is rubbish, and then others have got it. I mean, this has caused the biggest reaction with fans, and it's very Marmite with some people. Mm-hmm. Tell us about Slow Train.
Again, I had new synths, and I wanted to write something that had big, fat analog synths, and the way the synths were programmed by me, I felt like it needed some extra drums. So it has some kind of like, it has this occasional kind of like Sailing on the Seven Seas kind of swing comes into it. And I had a lyric for it. Well, no, I had a vocal melody, but no lyrics, sorry. And I just sat and recorded this kind of scat vocal, you know, this like, kicking and screaming birdies, low, low, to about and birdies. Home go. I just had no words, but I was like there were words because I had the melody, and I had this for a couple of years. Couldn't come up with an idea for it, but I loved the rhythm of it because it kind of reminded me a bit of. It reminded me a bit of kind of like early 70s glam rock stomp, but done with synthesizers. And listen, I'll be honest with you, it reminded me of Gold Flap. Yes, it did, because I fucking love that Black Cherry album. And anything that sounds like the Black Cherry album, I take it as being brilliant. If that's an influence, it's on my sleeve, and I'm having it because I love it. Great album. I met in my studio a couple of years ago a girl called Katrina Canapé from Latvia who was looking to do some singing. And I'd gone to collect my mail, and she was there, and we got having a cup of tea, and she said, I can't afford to use your studio, because I was no longer using the studio. You know, I was renting it out I was renting it to somebody who was running it as a business. And she just said, have you got a studio I can use? And I said, what do you want to do? And she said, I just want to sing over some backing tracks. It'll only take a couple of hours. I said, all right, listen, come to my programming room. We'll do it in my programming room. So I recorded a couple of things for her. And then she said, have you got any new songs? Are you writing any new songs? I said, yeah, I am. And she said, can I hear them? So yeah, I'll play you a couple. And Slow Train came on. And she just went, oh, I love the feel of that. She said, I've got an idea. Can I give you my idea? And, you know, you kind of go, oh, shit. Yes, dear, of course you can. Yeah, just you sing your idea and I'll erase it after you've gone. All right, you know, just humouring her. She walks up to the mic and she goes, la, 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 la. I went, do that again. I need to record that. And do it again. I want two of them. She did two recordings like that, bang. And suddenly the song had a focal point. It was like Paul putting a synth melody in it. Suddenly it was like, oh, wow. And then I went, oh, hell, now I'm actually going to have to work out what I'm going to sing on this. And so I went into the vocals and I went, right, what could I have sang here? And I went, you know, kicking and a screaming bird, it won't go. Okay, yeah, licking and a spitting because it's too, yeah, okay. Drowning in a bottle, haven't figured it out. Well, that sounds so profound. And I started analysing my scat vocal to say, what could I have sung? What could I have sung? And then actually, I'll let you into a secret. Paul hated it. I think still he's not that keen on it. But I gave it to the producer Dave Watts, because Dave Watts does rock mixes, and he's shoved it all through even more valve effects. And it just sounded like a ton of bricks. It kicks ass. And I love it. And I knew some people would hate it. I knew they would hate us for, you're not staying in your OMD box. Why are you speaking a different language? You're not speaking the authentic OMD language. Why have you translated it into a different language? And I don't give a fuck. I love it. So
there is definitely a Gold Flap influence on that.
Listen, I started programming this and I went, oh, that sounds like something off Black Cherry. I'll have a bit of that. Yeah, listen, I'm not denying it. I never deny anything. You know, nobody works in a vacuum, Neil. Nobody works in a vacuum. And listen, I would rather it sound like something off Black Cherry than sound like, you know, something done by somebody I don't like, or I probably shouldn't mention. So I'll be diplomatic for once in my life.
Right, hat time, and again, just prove I'm not cheating on here. Oh, there's another one out from Ferrando Nunz. Now this is written in a different language, but underneath it I've got, and you've answered this question. You've actually answered this question. When are you going to come to, or sort of answered this question, sorry. When are you going to come to South America? I'm thinking of South Africa, but South America.
Well, we plan to go to Canada and the US next autumn, and we really want to get down to Mexico, and we really want to get down to South America. South America is hard. It's about trying to find promoters who you can trust. You know, we played in Chile 4 or 5 years ago, and the promoter didn't pay us the last half of the money. We lost a shitload of money on that. So this is why people don't go to South America, because it's hard trying to find promoters who are not going to do a runner with your money, unfortunately.
Okay, let's grab another one.
I keep adjusting my glasses. I've got one ear higher than the other. I feel like Eric Morecambe here. I keep adjusting my glasses.
I'm very conscious.
And I'm reversed on your camera, so I keep doing it the wrong way around.
Right, here we got here Martin West. Again, this has been answered, but we'll say hello to Martin anyway. When's the new album coming out, which you now know? And more importantly, when are you coming to Australia? And you've already mentioned Australia.
We'll try and get there. We will try and get there, promise.
Yeah, so that's sort of, as I say, some of these are so old.
Well, I do apologise, Neil. I mean, I told you, what, 2 years, 18 months ago, you said, can we do an interview? And I said, let's wait for the new album. And I thought it might be about 6 months, you know, but waiting for Paul Humphreys to mix an album is like waiting for the reincarnation. I tell you, it's like...
Well, Andy, all I can say is that's the way the mop flops.
You had to get that one in somewhere, didn't you?
Claudia Salmoser. This actually...
Salmoser.
Yeah. How and where did you hear about the Martin Gallia project? So people watching this may not be aware that we were in lockdown and you donated some of your clothing, and we raised money for the Martin Gallia project, which is a suicide support charity. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, for families or people who are feeling like taking their lives, and it's named after Jess Gallia's dad, Martin, who did unfortunately take his own life. But yeah, so they asked me to get involved, and once I got involved, actually, Jess kind of said, you know what, you reach a target demographic that we find hard to talk to, because it's men of a certain age who still think they have to be the kind of stiff upper lip Victorian man, and, you know, oh, well, I've got to be the man, I've got to be the breadwinner, and everybody's relying on me, so I can't be weak, I can't be feeling anxious or sad, and it's precisely because they won't confide in anybody that these people end up not getting help, and it becomes too late sometimes. And I keep saying to people, it's like, you know, if you are struggling, it's not a weakness to say, I'm struggling, I need help. It's a strength. Your family and your friends would rather say, sit down and let's help you sort this out, than you don't say anything and they lose you forever. Yeah. It's more important that you show strength by saying, I feel anxious about talking this. I feel like, you know, pathetic, but I need help. I'm struggling. And Martin Gallia Project is there to help people who are thinking that, and their families to support them. It's you know, it's the goodest of good causes.
It's wonderful that mental health is a lot more. I lost a brother to suicide when I was quite young, so it's something that's quite close to my heart. And back in the day, as you say, you know, man up attitude. But yeah, well done for that, and it was great being part of that bit of a fundraiser that we did.
Yeah, it was great,
okay, let's dive back into the I will come back onto that fundraiser in a minute. I've got a couple of little notes here myself, but diving back into Bauhaus Staircase. And again, this has got fans very confused because the single Don't Go is on there. And I know this has been around for many years before you released it. And what a stonking song that is live, and the whole energy and the whole thing about it. But it's got fans confused to why it's on the album.
Okay, there's two reasons. One, we didn't want it to be an orphan, like If You Leave, and it was just going to be on a compilation album. And two, Paul wanted to remix it. He remixed it because he thought he could do an even better job. And so, yeah, I just said, yeah, I mean, it fits beautifully on the album. We just wanted it to have a home, not be an orphan.
Okay, and then maybe a bit of an unusual song coming up, number 9, Kleptocrat. What does
you
that
really
word?
are having trouble, aren't you, with your dentures today?
What does that word mean? But
kleptocracy. Okay,
yeah.
It's a combination of two words. It's klepto, which like kleptomaniac. You've heard that phrase, yeah?
Yeah.
And obviously democracy. It's the opposite of democracy. It's rule by thieves.
Okay.
Which is what's happened to us recently. I believe in democracy, but there have been several lying bastard narcissist snake oil people who have stolen our democracy. And unfortunately, some people have voted for them, and I just don't know why they allowed the wool to be pulled over their eyes, because these people did not care about you. You should never have voted for them. All they cared about was themselves. I'm not even going to bother to grace the... But I'm not going to put their names in my mouth because I want to spit them out. You know who they are. It's in the song.
And it is quite, again, I was trying to get the lyrics along the line, but yeah, good on you, Andy. You need to stand for Parliament.
Do you know what the problem is, Neil? I mean, I know you've done politics, and because you care, because you're a conviction politician, not somebody who's just doing it for their own ego trip. It's the thing about politics is, there's always been dodgy deals in dark rooms, and there's always been money going under the table. Well, it's not in the dark anymore, and it's on top of the table. They're brazen. They don't care. It's shocking, and people still vote for them.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's coming on to Aphrodite's favourite child. Now, I've scribbled a note of this, and I've just written, it's McCluskey's vocals at large. And again, I've only listened to this a couple of times, but this has got the proper, the Andy McCluskey vocals in this one. Again, a little bit more about the track.
Well, I'm singing like I mean it because I mean it. Somebody you will know, George Geranios and Nick, Photonovella. George is married to Sophie from our show. George and Nick sent me this backing track about 10, 12 years ago. No, it must have been at least 12 years ago. And they said, this sounds more like OMD than Photonovella. And I went, yes, it does. Can I have it? And so unsurprisingly, these are the guys who wrote the backing music, by the way, to Helen of Troy. We have worked, it's not just Andy and Paul on this album. We have worked with other people, and it's been a better album for it. We're quite happy to take people's ideas as long as they fit into our scheme of things. They wrote the music to Helen of Troy. So I've got Helen of Troy and Aphrodite's Favourite Child, both Greek references with music by Greeks. It's the third song that was written to somebody that I love. And I promised I wouldn't say who it was. I'm sorry. But I think you can tell from the way I'm singing just how much I was in love. And it's got one of my favourite but most painful lyrics, I think. It's hold me like a mother holds her only dying child, which is a hell of a lyric. I don't know where it came from. It's a bit brutal, but it's kind of like it's imagining, if you imagine how much love somebody's giving you if they're holding you like you're their dying child.
This is a little bit weird because you won't remember this, but one of the interviews I did with you whenever 10 years ago, somebody sent in a question that you reference a mother's arms in quite a lot of your songs, and somebody actually, this came up years ago in an interview.
See these arms that were broken, how they held you so.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, it's, listen. You know, we can all remember. Hopefully, if we can, we have these good memories. If your parents have been good parents, there's nothing better than the embrace of your mother. You know, I mean, my mother lived until she was 86. I'd go around there to make her a cup of tea, and she was sat in bed. She couldn't get out of bed, and we would watch TV, and I would fall asleep next to her in 10 minutes flat because I was in my comfort zone. I was with my mum. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if your mother loved you, you will probably never feel more love than that in your life.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just going to completely digress, and I have no idea why this has just come back to me. I have a YouTube channel. I put a vlog out every day about being a campsite warden, and I reference OMD in some of these vlogs and everything. And somebody bumped into your sister that was camping at a place called Shell Island. And I have no idea how a conversation came about. But when you see your sister who camped at Shell Island a few years ago, I forget what she said now, but something did feed back down this really weird long line of messages.
I have two sisters, so yes, I'm trying to think. It was probably my sister Fiona rather than Helen, but yeah, okay.
Really bizarre. Completely.
Island. All right, I'll ask them both. We'll
okay. So, Evolution of the Species, which is the one that I've possibly heard the demos way back in 2014. So this is the OMD music track. I would guess this is going to be the opener for your tour. I may be completely wrong. And it's got like.
Are we that predictable? Damn! No, it's not going to be now. No, since you said that,
it's got to be. But it's the Atomic Ranch, isn't it, of the album, for want of a better phrase, sort of thing. But it's a beautiful track, and I can imagine now that opening up a gig. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I mean, yeah. Well, you've alluded to it. I've been trying to write that song for a long time. I got Paul to put a melody on it, and we had difficulty because I think some of the chords were in minor and some were in major, and it was a problem. We have fought like cat and dog over that melody. I like it being quite da, 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 and he wanted it more lush, and I wanted it more staccato. But anyway, Paul got the melody on it. I did all the rest, all of the it's text to voice, it's text to speak again. Me just program, because I use these as tools. I did it in Anthroposcene, I did it in Atomic Ranch, and sometimes they just remain esoteric tracks. But like Isotype and like Anthroposcene, sometimes it needs to be bigger, and I need to sing on it. I didn't need to sing on Evolution of Species, but one thing that did also happen is, again, talking to people we worked with. When we played in Chile, in Santiago, we met Uwe Schmidt, who is Senor Coconut and Atom TM. And we love Senor Coconut. It's bonkers, beautiful. But Atom TM glitch music, we were really into glitch at the time. And we just, you meet people and say, oh, we'll do this to work together, won't we? Yeah, of course you never will. But I wasn't finding a way to make this song work, even though I'd had it for 7-8 years. So I sent it to Uwe and just said, can you work your magic on that? Just reimagine it. And he transformed it. And then it's like, and I don't even know what he did to it, but it just sounded better. He just sculpted some of the synths and some of the drums. And so that's got extra production by Atom TM. And, it's got a male voice on it. And I got Richard Dawkins' email address, and I emailed him, and he probably thought this is some spam email or some loony pretending to be that guy from the band Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. I asked Richard Dawkins if he'd do the voiceover, and I never got a reply, unfortunately, because it would have been great to have had him do the voice on it.
Excellent. I'm just going to be drawing this to a close in a second, just pulling a quick one out from Eric Sullivan. Again, this is a very old one, Andy. You're gonna laugh at this. When will you be playing Red White Light again? Outside the phone box would be great, but obviously it didn't go down too well live, did it?
No, we played it on the souvenir tour a couple of times, and it really, you know, the audience were looking at us like going, "What?" And I must admit, it is an incredibly disjointed song. I mean, playing it on stage, it's like. It's like doesn't quite flow, you know. So in the end, we solved the problem by going, there's only a few real hardcore fans want to hear this. Let's play it in the sound check to the people who actually come to the sound check and want to care enough about us to. So we played it only in the sound checks, and that seemed to be the place for it.
Excellent. Right, let's just come on to the final track of the album, Healing. And I've just written one word next to this, and I've just written the word reflection or reflecting. I don't know whether that sums up my early view of the song.
Yeah. Again, help from others. Paul gave me the chords years ago. I put on the water droplets and all the other instruments, and for the life of me, I could not get a lyric. I mean, lyrics are becoming harder and harder to do these days, top-line melody lyrics. I have a friend who I've known for about 15 years called Caroline England, who lives in Hoylake, near where I live on Wirral. She's a brilliant singer-songwriter. And she always used to say to me, half jokingly, if you ever have writer's block, I'll help you out. So I finally called her bluff, and I said, I'm sending you an MP3. Write lyrics. 2 days later, she sends me back an MP3, and she'd done all the words. And I was blown away. She said, I was trying to channel my inner Andy, and she did. It was absolutely beautiful. And I just felt like these are my lyrics. I'm adopting these lyrics. These aren't foster lyrics. These are my babies now. And she gave me the opportunity, as it comes out of the first chorus, she gave me the opportunity, like in International, to go up the octave and, you know, hit that sweet spot of kind of like plaintive sound. And the lyric is, you know, still your body, learn to float and ease the fist around your throat. And I'm screaming it. It can feel my throat tightening on it. And I was blown away. But I didn't like my production. I thought my production was too lumpy. So I sent it to Uwe in Santiago again. And he absolutely transformed it into these cascading, fuzzy, I don't even know what they are. I can't work out what he did again. It was just oozing organic analog synth thing. And it's beautiful. I mean, I hope the way you can hear I'm talking about this album, I mean, I think this album is as good as we can do. Paul and I were worried about Punishment of Luxury. Can we follow it? Should we follow it? Should we dare? And I guess the lyric in Verushka says it all. It's like, you know, if you're too afraid to die, you'll never learn to fly. You know, it's like, we've got to try. You know, we've got to try and write something. If it doesn't work out, we won't release it. But there's no point just sitting there saying, oh, can't do it, won't do it, too frightened to do it. Oh, it'll never be as good. I think this album is as good as Punishment of Luxury. I'll say it now. It might even be better.
I think it's, again, I've only listened to it literally a couple of times, and the first...
You've only had it today, haven't you? And I did warn you. I said it's going to take a few listens because it's very electronic, it's a bit different, but it's got loads of energy.
Yeah, but as I say, on to my third quick listen, if that makes any sense, it was clicking together. The handshake was right. So I'm just going to sort of round things off now with some separate notes that I got for myself. So obviously you've got this tour coming. I've got no idea whether I'm going to see you next year because of my work situation and getting time off and things. But I just want to wish you absolutely luck with the tour, and I'm sure it's going to be the usual OMD experience. And yeah, I might get to a couple of new places. Nottingham, I'm not done because that's not a million miles from where. All being well, I'm going to be living next year. My house is up for sale in Manchester and things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've just, again, these are some little notes of my own. The passing of David Bowie. I mean, I still cannot believe David Bowie is not with us, and for him to have orchestrated the album Black Star. What a musical genius, and obviously you've done a couple of cover versions.
Yeah.
So the whole of the passing of David Bowie is awful, and as I'm now into my 60s, I've got a will and all my funeral arrangements are made and things like that. What would you have inscribed on your headstone, Andy?
You've asked me a question that nobody's ever asked me before, Neil, and I don't know. Do you know what? I'm not even going to give you a glib off the top of my head answer because I'm going to be thinking about that one. Now you've got me thinking. This is my last interview of the evening. You can probably tell it's been going dark outside. The light in the room has changed. I have no idea. I mean, listen, my kids take the mickey out of me because I'm an atheist, and I've said I want some fuck off big gothic black angel on the top of my mausoleum, and they're like, that's so egotistical, Dad. We thought you'd want to be buried in a wicker basket under a tree. I'm like, no, I want to make a big noise. The same way they take the mickey out of me when I go to sing Christmas carols. I'm like, Dad, you're an atheist. I said, yeah, but it's like going to pantomime. I'm just singing songs about fictional characters. Sorry for those of you who are religious, but but yeah, I have no idea. Great question. You asked me a question nobody ever asked me before.
Well, it's not the obvious what an Ola gay about. Let's pull one last question out of here, and then we'll say we'll wrap this up. This is from this is a quick, easy one from Paul Swetman. Marmite, yes or no?
It was always yes until I found out I had an allergy to yeast, and I had to stop eating it. But now I've solved it, and it's yes again. Okay.
And Antia has sent me this quote, and I think I'm going to conclude the interview on this one. But thanks, Andy, for taking time out, and obviously we've been in touch recently. Everything, and I don't know when I'll get over at some stage. We'll have a coffee and a face-to-face hello. So thank you ever so much for that. And she's written here, and I'm going to end this interview on this. One critic said something along the lines of, there are fans and then there are OMD fans. They are completely devout. How do you perceive your fans, Andy? Many, including myself, who've been following you for 45 years, for decades. Yeah, how do you perceive your fans?
You know what? It's not a conglomerate mass of, faceless thing. It's loads and loads of individual human beings who've blessed us by resonating positively with what we make. When you write music, you are essentially having a conversation with yourself. You're trying to extract from yourself something that you want to be able to mirror back that perhaps you can't write down or you can't verbalize, and you try and sculpt it until it's in a shape that it is completely reflecting what you want to say to yourself. And then you dare to try and share it with other people. And when you really feel like you've sculpted something that represents you, it's terrifying letting other people hear it. Because I made this analogy before. It's like standing in a shop window and taking your clothes off and saying, "Hi, do you like me?" And everybody goes, "Not really." It's crushing. And so when one person takes the time to say to you, something you did is still in my heart. Something you did, I remember. Something you did changed my life. you're blessed. So the lots and lots of wonderful people have resonated with our music in different ways and at different times, for different occasions and for different reasons. And we are so lucky that we've been able to take a piece of ourselves and throw it out there, and people have gone, oh my God, you're talking my language. I totally understand what you're saying. And it's a blessing. Until you release Slow Train, everybody goes, that's fucking shit. Why are you doing that?
Well, that was going to be the end of the interview, but one final one. Sorry about people. Boy George and The View From Here. What did you hear his version of that? I mean,
I did.
Nowhere.
Yeah, he was going to celebrate his 60th birthday by doing 60 songs that he really loved, and I thought he sounded great singing it. I really did. But I don't think it's ever come to be. I don't think he's done anything with it. But no, I mean, the funny thing is, I only met Boy George for the first time a few years ago when we did a charity concert in London, and we were standing backstage waiting. I said, George, yeah, we've never met, have we? No, we never have met. How are you? How are you? Nice to meet you. And then I spoke to him. And he just was like, this is a beautiful song. It touched me, and I wanted to sing it. So I was amazed.
What a beautiful way to
listen. Who knew as well? Robbie Williams. Robbie Williams is a Morris Wade fan, but then he is from Burslem. So I've been in touch with Robbie Williams about art as well. Oh, I'm becoming a name dropper now. Me, famous me.
So
anyway, we'll talk. You still need to tell me what you really think of Slow Train. Not letting you off.
No, because I fell into the trap on first hearing that, and all I could hear was Goldfrapp. Now I've heard it today amongst a mix of other songs. It fits on the album better than it did do on its own, being released on YouTube. That's probably going to make no sense to you at all.
No, I get it. There's a lot of very analog sounding synths on this album. Like GEM, like Bauhaus Staircase. We're specifically trying to sound like old analog synths, and yeah, I mean, once you get over the bass line, which is very Black Cherry-ish, the rest of the song sounds nothing like Goldfrapp.
Yeah, no,
it sounds more like Sailing on the Seven Seas, and also, yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah, the words mean nothing. Yeah, Sailing on the Seven Seas means nothing either. It's just total train of thought. Make out of it what you want. And we released it on purpose to stir people up, because it's like, as Oscar Wilde says, there's only one thing worse than people talking about you, and that's people not talking about you.
What a fantastic way, Andy, to end the interview. Thank you ever so much for taking time out, and again, we'll catch up in person at some stage in the future.
I do hope you get to come and see us next year. Always great. I'm sorry that some of the questions were a bit past their sell-by date, but we've been trying to do this for 2 years, haven't we? So.
Well, right. I'm going to keep these, and maybe in 10 years' time, when you're in your 70s, we'll revisit them.
They'll be relevant by then, maybe. Yeah. All right. Take care, my friend. Bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.